Welcome to Keep Your Hands in Your Skirt podcast with your host, Sabrina Brightstar. Are you a woman who manages her own set point? Use the universal laws of the universe to raise your vibration. Be a woman who can receive more pleasure, more fun, and more joy. Together, let's claim our infinite worth. Keep Your Hands in Your Skirt is a fun way to remind yourself to mind your own business. Zero in on you and your desires. Say goodbye to judgments and people-pleasing. Join Sabrina and be a woman who can receive, create, and actualize everything you desire.
Hello, keep your hand in your skirt. Are you keeping your hand in your skirt, minding your own business? If you're on YouTube, you can see my guest today. That is my precious little girl. Crystal is her name. She's a furball. She is joining us vibrationally, energetically as she sleeps. What is today's conversation? Today's conversation is escapism. Escapism. Have you thought much about escapism? Do you use escapism intentionally as a tool, as a resource to help you? Or are you using escapism as a way to bypass your life and not fully engage? Here's why I wanted to talk about this. I was watching some YouTube videos from a podcaster called Shetty, I believe his name is, and he became a monk for a few years, or a yogi, or a monk, I'm not sure the proper word. And anyway, somehow he became a relationship expert, and he talks a lot about relationships, conscious relationships. And the question was about sex lives. What makes a great sex life? So of course, you know, I'm scrolling through YouTube and I see what would make a great sex life. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna watch that. What would make a great sex life? So Jay starts talking about one of the problems with couples, with relationships, and this can be with all types of relationships, friendships, families, coworkers, whatever. But he talked about one of the really leading causes of why connection and relationships and poor sex lives are happening right now is because of escapism. Escapism. And then as I've been thinking about this and as I've been reflecting on escapism, I'm like getting so much information that we can use escapism for like our own self if we're wanting to bypass something, not acknowledge something, not to fully engage and live our life. But we can also use escapism not to have to hear things. So I had never considered escapism and a listening skill. And this is what I mean by that. So he was talking about like couples. If couples aren't individually taking care of themselves, if they're not individually stimulating their mental body, their physical body, their emotional body, if they're not growing, if they're not evolving, if they're not learning, if they're not trying new things, if they're just stuck and stagnant and they don't have a lot of interesting things to share, they're not gonna wanna be sharing. And he talked about like if you're not taking care of yourself and if you don't like yourself, why would you wanna like get naked with somebody else? Emotionally, mentally, physically, right? You're just gonna stay within. So he was saying the most important thing couples can do is to take care of yourself. So not even point the finger at the other person, not even anything about the other person, but are you consciously choosing to live your life, to engage in your life, or are you on autopilot? Are you on an automatic program where you disengage and you are using escapism just to bypass the time? And so when I started thinking about escapism for listening, have you ever had the situation where you're passionate about something, you're excited about something, or you just want to talk about something, or you learn something new, or you went someplace new, or you know, like somebody you're talking to has a health issue, and you happen to have heard somebody who also had this issue, and then they did X, Y, and Z that really helped them, and you want to like share the information, right? You've got data, you've got information that you feel is useful and perhaps even valuable. But when you go to share it, do you talk with people who have escapism listening skills? And what I mean by that is, have you ever had those conversations where somebody like dismisses you before you even get to share what you want to share? You're like, hey, like you've got such and such health issue. Hey, did you know fasting? Have you heard any of the reports about fasting? And right away, they'll shut you down. Nope. That doesn't work. I've heard about that. That doesn't work. Nope, that doesn't, right? And they're not actively listening. They don't want to have the conversation. They don't want to hear the information. So they use escapism with their listening skills. And they just are on automatic, because some people, they don't want to be introduced to any new ideas, any new patterns, any potential, right? And what I think is so fascinating about that is, as we share ideas back and forth, or we share information, it's free to listen, right? It doesn't cost anything to listen. It doesn't cost anything to like, hey, I'm going to take a moment and ponder that, or I'm going to do a little self-reflecting on that, or hey, I'm going to consider that for a few seconds. Like, it's free. But people, I'm realizing escapism is so common and so popular. People shut you down. People dismiss you. People are prepared to reject it before they've even considered it. Yes, I do know a few of those people, and it's confusing. It's like, but I'm realizing when I'm thinking of this escapism, and I'm thinking about this Jay and his conversations about people. Sex is apparently, according to him and according to trends, sex is at an all-time low. People are having less and less sex. And when they are having sex, they're doing it from a place of we should. It's a responsibility, a guilt, like, oh, you're my person. You know, I suppose I should give you an orgasm every blah, 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 right? And it's not from that growth. It's not from that evolution as a couple getting closer. It's not from that place of connection. And this is what we want to do to enhance ourselves and each other and the unit as a team. And so then I was just kind of thinking about, like, you know, how many people, like, how many of us have been taught, like, you can start living your life when, right? Like, you can start having an active, conscious, enjoyable, adventurous, passionate, whatever life when, like, maybe when your kids are older and you have more free time, or maybe when you retire and then you have more free time, or maybe on the weekends. Maybe you don't really live your life Monday through Friday or during the week, because you're just on automatic. You just do this, you have your pattern, and you like are saving to your life to live on Saturdays, maybe. I'm just throwing out some case scenarios, and there's nothing wrong with about choosing to live your life on automatic, right? There's nothing wrong with just bypassing and using escapism and not fully living your life, not fully engaging in your life. But my question, or the seed that got planted for me as I listened to Jay, was, are you aware? Like I never considered that couples, like when I've been with somebody in my past, maybe we weren't getting closer because I had stopped living my life. I had stopped learning, growing, evolving, become, fascinated, trying. Maybe the relationship got boring or dull or stagnant because I had stopped living. And that was just such a really new thought for me. But it makes so much sense, and it totally keeps in line with keep your hand in your skirt, right? Because if you're keeping your hand in your skirt, you're aware, you're self-aware of you and what your set point is. And is your vibration the vibration you want to be having? Do you want more pleasure? Do you want more joy? Do you want more fulfillment, happiness, connection? And if you do, whose responsibility is it to bring that into your reality? See, like we live in a culture that's so easy to point the finger and, oh, it's my boss's fault because he overworks me, or, oh, it's my lover's fault because he just watches TV all the time, or, oh, it's my kids' fault because they're so needy, right? Like, oh, it's, whatever, right? Like we just live in a blame consciousness so easy. We live in a consciousness where we just pass the buck. We just do escapism so we can bypass observing questioning, hey, there's my little girl. She agreed with that sentence. I wonder what I just said. She just agreed with it. So anyway, escapism, are you using it on choice? I do think escapism is a great tool when you do need to get grounded, when you do need to get back in your body. Often, many of us are overstimulated, we're oversaturated, right? Many of us are empaths, and we perceive a lot of energy, we perceive a lot of vibration that's happening. So many of us, escapism really is a powerful tool to help us get back in our bodies, to help us relax, to help us refresh. So, but my question is, would we like to use a little less escapism? Are we overusing escapism? Like, how could your life look if you just used, if you like consciously live, just say 10% more every day? Well, like, what could that look like? Maybe that could be like you ask yourself open-ended questions like, hey, self, what are some new thoughts, ideas, people's books, TV shows, places I could go that would open me, that would gift me with new ideas, new thoughts, new patterns, perhaps gift me with new hobbies that would make my heart sing, new people, new friendships that would delight me and help fulfill me and give me more joy. So maybe just in the car when you're driving to work, use that 10% a day just to think some different thoughts, just to ask some open-ended questions so you can receive some new information. I am open, receptive, and available to see this differently. I am open, receptive, and available to see my day-to-day life differently. So I may call in more joy, happiness, abundance, pleasure. Maybe before you go to bed, you're daydreaming about whatever you're daydreaming about, or maybe it's complaining. Maybe you're like worrying. Maybe you're thinking of people that you're irritated with. Like, I don't know what it's like before you go to sleep. What would it be like if you just took 10%? You just took 10 minutes to introduce new ideas, ask some open-ended questions, just have the choice, have the decision that you want to have more fulfillment. And what if all of your relationships, the outside relationships, are actually a reflection of the relationship you have within yourself? And if you make the relationship between you and you even more juicy, even more enjoyable, even more layered and textured, maybe that will help that all the other relationships and all the other connections become even more meaningful. So escapism, are you using it? Do you like it? Do you overuse it? Do you want to assess it? Or what's your opinion about escapism? Thanks for listening.
Manage your own set point. Use tools to change your vibration. Raise your set point. Thank you for listening to the Keep Your Hands in Your Skirt podcast. Make sure to subscribe and please leave a review. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you in the next episode.